All right.
Yes.
Okay. So I would like to call this meeting of Wednesday, April 21st, 2021 of the City of Scranton Ethics Board to order. Having done that, I'll move on to roll call. The board members, Stephanie Bressler.
I'm here.
David Falcheck.
Here.
Andrew Heller is not with us. I believe Brad Kovaleski will also not be with us. And I, Matthew Meyer, am here. And our solicitor, John Hart, is here. Okay, we can move on to the next item of the agenda. Reading and approval of the minutes of the March 17th meeting from 2021. Typically, we get a motion to suspend the reading and move directly to approval. Can I get such a motion?
I'll move that we suspend the reading of the minutes and move to approval.
Excellent. Can I get a second? Stephanie, can you do that?
I don't know. Can I second my own minutes?
I think you can, yes.
Okay.
So, okay. All in favor of said motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Motion passes unanimously. Great. We'll move on to what maybe is perhaps the main business of our meeting tonight, the solicitor's report. We do have one pending complaint. We're looking for an update and anything else that, John, that you might have for us. Oh, I think you're muted.
Sorry about that. I had an opportunity to speak with the investigative officer a few days ago for an update on the matter. He was having a little bit of difficulty in getting documents that he was requesting from parties involved with that complaint. I did remind him that the board and the investigative officer has subpoena power, and I pointed him in the direction to create a subpoena that he can use. And then Matt, we actually forwarded that to you for your signature as chairman. Obviously that subpoena didn't give away any information to the parties, but it was still confidential, and that was sent back to the investigative officer. And I believe that he's already sent that to the individuals he's requesting documents or testimony from. I received a phone call this morning from the city solicitor, Joe O'Brien, because he was made aware that there was a subpoena being circulated, and he was just looking for follow-up. What is it about? Why are we subpoenaing things? I explained to him how that we had a little difficulty, I guess, in obtaining what the investigative officer was looking for. I directed him to the code to show that it is within our authority and in our jurisdiction to issue subpoenas, and we have the power behind them. He understood, and he said in the future, by all means, that we can have the investigative officer contact him if we need their assistance at all in making sure that the individuals comply. So that's where we're at with the complaint. I'll just wait to hear back from the investigative officer moving forward.
Yeah. Thank you, John. Yeah, that's an important update, and that's good to know. And it's good to hear that things are moving forward in this direction. Are there any questions?
Yeah. The investigative officer's fee agreement, has that been filed with, I don't know, where is it filed? Is it a signed agreement with the law department?
I would have to ask him to see where he submitted it, because I didn't know if he would do that with the business administration, because we haven't received any invoices from him yet.
Right.
I'd imagine as soon as we get that, I would direct, I suppose he should go with the business administration for that. And yeah, I'll have to make sure that he does send that over to the law department.
Yeah, and typically I would file a copy with the city clerk's office. That's what we've done in the past.
Okay, I will let him know that.
David, it seemed like you have a question. Is that still true?
Yeah, Mr. Hart, you had alluded to difficulty getting documents. Is there a single individual that is the source of this difficulty, or is it more than one?
I do not know. When I when I engage in conversations with the investigative officer, I limit it to the procedural aspect. I don't want to put him in a position where he might be accidentally giving out confidential information, because at this point in time, we shouldn't know any of that. The only time that the board would become privy to whether it be the complainant or the subject would be in that findings report that he would issue.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any further questions? Any further updates that you have for us, Solicitor?
I believe that's it.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the chair's report. At this point, the only thing I have to report is a promise to follow up on a previous meeting's plan of looking into ways that we as a board can take an active role in implementing the campaign finance provisions of the ethics code, and that I will do so through an email conversation among members, and what results from that, or kind of issues or questions or suggestions that emerge from that, we can take it up into an agenda item for a subsequent meeting with an eye to our May meeting. So that's all I have to report for right now. I don't know if there's any questions or suggestions or follow-ups. Let me know. Yeah.
Matthew, I have a question.
Mhm.
I wonder if, the onus to comply with the ethics rules that we're promulgating really fall on the candidate. So, I mean, the onus is not the board's onus to promote the rules.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering if I just want to make sure this activity would be within our charge. I mean, it's not the charge of the zoning board to, promote per se, zoning ordinances. And I'm wondering if that's something that's something that we could be doing and should be doing.
Yeah. So it's a great question. It is, and well, it's actually a question that we asked, I think, the meeting prior to your joining our meeting. So you're right on target. And so we wondered about that, and so we reached out to the city council as well as the mayor's office, but I received specifically instructions or background information about the formation of this council and the intent of the council. I wouldn't say that it puts an onus or a burden upon us or a responsibility, but let's say that it's certainly within our charge, and the city council would be pleased if we could do things like actively educate relevant members of the community about who we are, the code, especially with respect to, anything, I guess, in the ethics code, but also in the elections. So I think it's a great question, and that's the feedback that we got. What exactly we want to do and how much, again, we want to burden ourselves with doing that, I think, is to some degree up to us, but I guess that would be my response. I don't know. Stephanie, do you have any, David, or follow-up, or? Mm-hmm.
No, I'm satisfied with that, Matthew. Thank you.
Yep. Stephanie, do you have
What about that under other business with the elections update?
Yep, great. So, okay, if there are no further questions or about, I guess, anything with respect to my report, I'll move on to the finance report. Unfortunately, our finance officer, Brad Kovaleski, could not join us tonight. I believe, and I will double check with Brad about whether he intends to, as we suggested in the previous meeting, present a spreadsheet representing board finances at what would have been this meeting, but to do that at the next meeting. So I think in some sense I'm providing a report in his place. I don't know if anyone else would like to add. I guess you can't ask Brad directly, but to add to the report or anything that needs to be said under finances or any questions. Okay. Mm-hmm. Hearing none, I'll move on to, it's still on the agenda. I don't know if we will actually have a report, but anything going on with the gift subcommittee report.
Yeah, I checked with the city clerk's office and there have been no more submissions.
Okay.
At our last meeting, we talked about a gift presented to the mayor for the city from the Japanese ambassador, and we determined what our response would be, and Brad and I sent a letter to the mayor with that response. Yep. We're actually required by the code to evaluate gifts of value and to respond with an assessment.
Great. Thank you for that report. Any questions regarding that? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to other business. I have 3 sub items under that. Elections update, advisory opinion request form, and a third one, a reminder about financial statements. Stephanie, you might be the person under other business, so feel free to kind of move forward in a way that you see fit.
Yes, I checked with the city clerk's office. The document that all candidates needed to file along with their petitions was the statement of financial interests. And the city clerk has received statements of financial interest from all 12 candidates for city elected office, including the mayoral candidate who probably will not be on the ballot, but he's appealing the challenge. Mm-hmm. So they have all, certainly we haven't reviewed them, but we do know that they've been filed. Yeah. And I guess the question is, do we review them?
That was my question for, it was going to be for you, John.
If I recall a while ago, I had this conversation with Mary Jo Sheridan last summer, maybe. I think we're not charged with knowing whether or not all the lines, I think, on those forms were done accurately. Maybe if there was an omission, that can be an issue that we can raise and bring to their attention. But I think procedurally, our job is just to make sure that they were filed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that makes sense, because it would not be known if any of those disclosures were problematic until the person gets into office and is presented with a particular situation. So the fact that they're on file and they exist, it would seem like, our obligation ends with that. If something arises later on where there might be an apparent conflict of interest, that might be something we would consider down the road. But at the candidate stage, I don't think there's anything to really look at or think about.
Yeah, although certainly members of the public and other candidates can challenge those. And you might be aware that one of the candidates for state senate from the area was challenged on his statement of financial interests, or SFI.
Right, yeah. It's up to the public to, if they want to do an investigation and make sure that everything was listed on those documents, and yeah, they can bring it to our attention.
Yeah.
Sense to me.
And they are supposed to be available for public examination.
Right.
And they are. Is that true? Is it not just that they're supposed to be?
Yes, they are. I'm not sure whether they're actually posted on the city's website, the city clerk's website, or not.
Mm-hmm. Is that something we'd want to look into, or should we just let that?
Yeah, I think they can also be examined at the county elections office. Mm-hmm. So I mean, we certainly could.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's see, maybe if an email or something, just inquiring into that. That might be helpful. I don't know, Stephanie, I could send that, or Stephanie, or we could send that, or something like that. So let's talk about that.
Sure. And that actually could be part of our subcommittee or task force.
Yeah, yes, exactly, right? Yes. So, great. So that's the elections update. Any further questions?
Yeah, let me just say that the next round of reporting of of money, actually of financial matters by candidates will come just before the next election,
Mhm.
which will be early May at some point.
I would like to add, I quickly just looked at the landing page for Reading's Board of Ethics, and it's not current, but I know up until 2019, any city election candidate, their statement of financial interest form was posted on the board
Yes.
landing page. Yeah. So that might be something we can look into doing.
Yeah. Yeah, all the financial reports are as well.
Right.
Great. Anything further under elections update?
Well, just if the standard is that we're going to make sure that these PDFs of these documents are on the internet, we'd probably have to make sure it happens pretty quickly because we have the primary when May 18th, I believe. So we want the public to be able to have access to these for as long as we can. I mean, what does that entail? Just requesting the PDFs from the city clerk? Or does the city clerk maintain the committee's portion of the websites for posting?
I don't think it would hurt to look in to see, it might be located elsewhere on Scranton's website.
Let's send an initial inquiry. I think the thought would be that we could try to shoot for this election cycle, but it is also a kind of a longer term kind of what are we going to do in general. So if it turned out that we didn't, add this additional feature of making them more accessible for this particular election, I think that would be okay. But yeah, I think that's a good way to kind of shoot and maybe see if we can get this done before that. And because the idea is that they're supposed to already be publicly accessible. We're just adding a further layer or making them more accessible than what they are. So I think that's a good point. So yeah, let's try to do an email, and if we can get to this, even perhaps by the end of the week or early next week. Yeah.
Okay. What we did last summer, and John just referenced, Mary Jo was concerned. At that point, we didn't have an election going on, but we were still, at least the code says that we should be looking at SFIs being filed regularly. And we're going to talk about that under C.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did was to have our finance person, who was the controller's appointee to this board, just look at them. She went to the city clerk's office and just verified that they were filed.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a report on our landing page saying that she did that.
Yeah.
And listing the people who did comply.
Yeah, and that report's accessible right now on the city's website. Just pulled that up.
Yeah, well, and actually there was a special election for mayor last year in 2019.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Great. It does make me think maybe we should, if this closes out the elections update, to move directly to C. So we're bouncing just a little bit on the agenda, but under the same main heading. Stephanie, do you want to follow up with C?
And I just ask Matt to include that we all, those of us who were appointed 2020 or earlier, will have to complete a statement of financial interest, and those are done May 1st, and you should have received something from the city clerk's office. Mm-hmm. So Dave, you did not become a member of this board until 2021. So you always file for the the past year.
I see.
So I just wanted to remind everybody to do that. Yeah. And actually they're not difficult to fill out at all.
Yeah. I believe that I recall filling it out and recall sending it in. So I hope.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you. Any questions about C, the financial reminder about our own financial statements? Good. Then let's go to B, just the advisory opinion request form that Stephanie has kind of distributed to us prior to the meeting.
And as I said in the email, this was really intended to be a start. I
Mhm.
looked at what Reading did, and they don't really have a form. They just have instructions. And I think I sent those on to
Mhm.
everyone. So I didn't know whether we wanted to do a form, whether we wanted to do an email. Matt suggested that rather than have a form or a letter sent, certainly not to our mailbox, because there could be a delay there. And often these requests need to be
Mhm.
addressed in a timely way,
Mhm.
that they should be emailed to Matt and to John. And again, this is just a start, and we can determine what we would like to do.
Yeah, I don't think a formal letter is necessary. I will say the reason why I thought it was important to have a request form on our website is just to point out to different people that would like an opinion how to do it, because
Right.
I think in the past 3 advisory opinions, one was requested by a phone call, another an email, and another a text message. So
Right.
my response to the phone call and the text message, like, just put your question of what you'd like an answer to in an email form so I can reply that way too. So they'll have the answer in the opinion form in the PDF. So
Right.
yeah, just so people know the proper way to do it.
And looking through it, it's very nicely done. I think it certainly is a good start, and maybe not just a start. I think we can run with it, and it's something that if we were finding, I think, John, as things were coming through, that we need to make clear or clarify certain items so that things that the form could be even more helpful in terms of heading off addressing any questions that people might have ahead of time, or kind of pointing them in the direction of how to do this kind of that it is more helpful for us. We can revise the form as we go. But I do think that I don't think we need a formal motion, but we could probably just kind of plan to go ahead and use this in its current form. That's
Yeah, I would agree.
my idea. Yeah. Does that sound okay with everyone? And like I said, we can always revise as we see things come in and see if more things need to be added, or specific points made to be made or something like that.
So would you like me to have it posted to our page?
Yeah, that would be excellent. Great.
Can I ask a question about advisory opinions?
Mhm.
The first one is posted on our webpage.
Mhm.
The last 3, have they been signed? Can they be submitted for posting?
Yes, so we approved some last meeting. We went through them. It would be great to post them, both because if there's cases that are quite similar, people can turn to those. Yeah, so where are we at with that? John, do you have a response to Stephanie's question, or do you know?
Yeah, I believe at last meeting, all the advisory opinions that I've issued so far have been ratified.
Right. Do we have signed copies that
Yes, I can forward those to you.
Yeah, does Matt need to sign them? Yeah.
He already did sign them.
I've already done that, yeah.
Yeah, if you could send them, then I can make
Yeah.
sure that we get them on the website. Great.
Excellent. So, great. Any other kind of questions or items, I think, even under other business that might need to be added? Okay, hearing none, I think we can simply move on to the 9th item on our agenda, which is our next meeting. I think it's fairly straightforward. I do think that we have enough here to where we want to continue meeting on the 3rd Wednesday of the month, and that would be, if I'm not mistaken, Wednesday, May 19th at 6 p.m. So to let everybody know and let ourselves know that that will be our next meeting. Any questions about that? Okay, then we'll move on to item number 10 on the agenda, which is public participation. Stephanie, if you want to maybe mention something about that and where we're at.
Okay. Typically, with our virtual meetings, public participation has been limited to the public emailing concerns or questions to our email. our city email. Probably since sometime over the weekend, I have not been able to access our email. And in fact, I can't access the city's email system. I have made 2 requests for help. And the first response I got was that the request was being sent to the help desk. Today, I contacted the help desk again. In both of my requests for help, I made it very clear that this is the only way the public can participate in our meetings. And I asked that if access could not be restored today, if any emails that came in within the last month could be sent to me. I have not received any response from the help desk. You probably are aware from the news that there are some big changes in the IT department in the city. So I'm not sure whether the lack of response is a result of the changes that are going on there. But I'm certainly not comfortable with having this as our public participation process and not being able to access it. The last 2 or 3 months, we have not had any emails, but I still think it's important for us to know if someone has tried to contact us.
Sure. Sure.
Absolutely.
So I'm not sure where we go from here.
Well, I think that's, I think it's been said, that's probably a good reason to hold a meeting in May to just kind of, and hopefully that situation will be resolved. I think, Stephanie, also, if there's any updates to that, so like if you were contacted, if your requests are somehow answered, maybe kind of follow up with the group via email just to let everybody know where things are with that. And I think the next thing would be is that if these aren't answered, if that we'd have to figure out, and maybe we do this by email again, maybe somebody that we can directly contact, because this is an issue for us, and kind of it's an important feature of, although we haven't had much by way of emails in terms of public participation, it is important to have that channel of communication open. So I think we'd kind of escalate it and try to figure out who can we kind of contact to get some sort of response. I think that's important. Does that sound, that's my, I guess, 2 cents off the top of my head in response, but yeah. Stephanie, does that make sense to you, or do you have any? Yeah.
So there was a person that I've been working with at the on the web page, and she has been very responsive in the past. And when I sent my first inquiry to her, she responded by saying she was sending it to the help desk. So
Yeah.
I'm just not really sure what the division of labor is there, and given the changes there.
Yeah. So maybe, letting her know that the help desk is unresponsive. Is she aware of that? Or
Yes,
Yeah.
I sent her a copy
sorry,
of my email to the help desk today.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
So I
Sorry.
think we need to decide, if we don't get a response in the next week or so, where do we go next?
Yeah, exactly. Great. Any questions or anything further? Okay. Well, thank you for that update as well. That brings us to the final item on our agenda, which is adjournment. I think maybe at this point I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, sounds good. Do we have a second?
I will second the motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right. I assume there is none opposed. So with that, we will thank you for your service and everything and this meeting, and we'll meet again on May 19th at 6 o'clock. And we'll be in contact over email. So
See you then.
okay.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.